A crewless spacecraft will be launched by NASA as part of the Artemis I mission. In 2025, if everything goes according to plan, a mission could send astronauts to the moon. If NASA has its way, humans will soon be able to walk on the moon once more. Given that it will be several years before humans set foot on the moon, and that by that time NASA will have spent nearly $100 billion, why should it replicate what it did 50 years ago? So, before answering this question, welcome back to Fly Me to the Moon. Also, I know you're all curious about space, but before that, I want you guys to click the subscribe button. Also click the thumbs up button and the bell icon. For the first time in more than 50 years, NASA is motivated to send astronauts to the moon. One is the long-standing aim of sending people to Mars. The Artemis mission will put some of the necessary logistics and technology to the test. However, a moon mission itself has some scientific value. For instance, rocks gathered during earlier flights revealed the moon's formation. It probably developed from debris after an asteroid the size of Mars struck Earth more than 4 billion years ago. NASA is particularly interested in researching the ice in lunar craters for the Artemis mission. The features of the ice and how long it has been there may reveal information about the solar system's past. If the ice could be converted into drinking water, oxygen, or spacecraft fuel, it might even be utilized to build permanent bases on the moon. Additionally, the missions might result in side effects. Past breakthroughs in the space program have paved the way for new technologies in a variety of fields, including computing and food preservation. Recently, NASA revealed 13 potential landing locations, all near the South Pole, where water ice has been shown to exist deep inside craters that never receive direct sunlight. 2024 is the expected year for Artemis II, a crewed lunar flyby, and Artemis III, the first crewed landing, might occur as early as 2025. According to Bethany Ehlman, Associate Director of the Keck Institute for Space Studies at the California Institute of Technology, the sites are some of the best places to go for lunar geology, understanding lunar ice, and sampling lunar ice. Since Apollo, technology has advanced significantly, and now, according to Kring, we've already identified rocks on the lunar surface that we want the astronauts to collect. The amount of detail on the moon's surface revealed by probes like the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter is very incredible. According to Associate Professor Craig Hargrove at Arizona State University's School of Earth and Space Exploration, there are additional benefits to having astronaut boots on the moon. Despite calling himself a huge fan of robotic exploration, he admits that rovers and landers are limited by the scientific equipment they must carry. Additionally, they have a difficult time gathering as much information about the specific geologic background and geography as a geologist astronaut can. The first Artemis mission would complement NASA's already full 2022 schedule. NASA also set up the James Webb Telescope earlier this year, and it is already capturing richly colored images of the solar system and outer space. That has some coincidental timing. The organization started developing new transportation options in the wake of the 2003 Columbia Space Shuttle tragedy. They began work on the James Webb Telescope the next year. Both projects were completed around the same time, almost 20 years later. However, competition from other nations has energized NASA. For instance, 3 robotic missions from China have touched down on the moon. Additionally, private businesses that want to convert space travel into a profitable business, like Elon Musk's SpaceX and Jeff Bezos' Blue Origin, have lobbied for the agency's creation. NASA has provided significant funding and support to commercial actors. Still, they have also increased interest in spaceflight in both the public and private sectors, which wasn't previously the case. The NASA budget has increased over most of the last 10 years of reductions. According to Hargrove, Mars is at least 200 times farther away from Earth than the Moon, making it extremely difficult to protect personnel from things like radiation exposure. The launch window to get to Mars are once every 2 years, he claims, so we could be thinking about keeping our astronauts on the surface of Mars for a long period of time. I personally feel like we would be doing them a service, and everyone a service, if we tested out all these technologies on the Moon first. Apollo's primary goal was to reach the Moon before the Soviet Union. Although it was successful, there was no long-term strategy to establish a lasting human presence there. Clive Neal, a professor of civil and environmental engineering and earth sciences at the University of Notre Dame, believes that Artemis could alter that. He is especially interested in witnessing a slow transition toward a long-term human presence on the moon. That possibility may not be as far off as previously assumed, given that SpaceX, a for-profit company, has been chosen to deliver the spacecraft that would put the Artemis people on the lunar surface. We need to build an infrastructure that's going to say, okay, we're going to have human permanence on the moon and transition to commercial operations there in the future, Neil says. And we can have a blueprint then on the moon of how to do these things sustainably that can be applied to more distant destinations. Numerous new technologies developed to travel to the moon and into space have already greatly benefited humans on Earth. These innovations include anything from handheld computers to insulin pumps and freeze-dried meals. Artemis could inspire similar innovations. According to a 2013 NASA commissioned study, the annual economic impact of the commercial products resulting from the space agency's research is between $100 million and $1 billion. The Apollo program was the starting point for many of these spin-offs. For instance, the Apollo guidance computer was a cutting-edge piece of equipment in its day. It was an early example of the digital fly-by-wire technology that is now found in both military and commercial passenger jets. There may be a large number of spaceships transporting cargo and astronauts back and forth between Earth and the Moon. The creator of Amazon and Blue Origin, Jeff Bezos, has proposed that we may relocate our heavy industries to the Moon. According to the theory, doing so would free up living space on Earth and relocate our infrastructure that damages the environment to a location without one. According to specialists, the Moon is a perfect staging area for further investigation of solar systems. The size and scope of the SLS demonstrate how difficult it is for humankind to break free of the Earth's gravitational pull. Because the Moon's gravity is 6 times weaker than ours, it is much simpler to escape. On the Moon, there is also an enormous amount of water. Since water is made up of H2O, there is plentiful supply of oxygen. According to the study, the top layer of the Moon alone contains enough oxygen to support 8 billion people for 100,000 years. Moon mining could result in the establishment of gas stations off of Earth, where voyaging spaceships could fill up their tanks with liquid oxygen, which is also used as rocket propellant. We already know that there is a lot of water at the Moon's south pole, which is why Artemis Base Camp will be there. In order to learn more about the amount and accessibility of water ice in permanently shadowed craters close to the lunar poles, Lunar Flashlight, one of the tiny spacecraft traveling aboard Artemis I, will orbit the Moon and flash infrared lasers into them. The cost of the Artemis mission has drawn criticism from several quarters. An earlier version of the product had to be abandoned by the Obama administration due to expense. But one of the reasons Artemis has endured is because of that spending. Congressmen who manage NASA's budget, notably those from Texas, Alabama, and Florida, have made sure that the agency's initiatives are carried out in their state. This has compelled lawmakers to continue the program. According to The Economist, NASA should strive to be as effective as private space exploration companies. It's contrasted the price of NASA's Artemis rockets with SpaceX's, which are more affordable and reusable than those of NASA. For a crucial portion of the Artemis III mission, the delivery of astronauts to the Moon's surface, NASA does want to collaborate with SpaceX. But for the time being, NASA mainly uses the technology it has created and is confident it will function. So, do you think NASA will be able to achieve this? If so, do you also want to land on the Moon? Let us know in the comment section below. Please subscribe, like, and hit that bell icon. Also, check out other amazing videos on our YouTube channel.